how high do you think prices can go from here?
I think certainly prices will get to over 150. Not sure exactly when, but with the supply situation that we're in right now and demand situation, it's definitely going up.
To 150, I mean, the repercussions on gasoline prices is going to be enormous there. What can your company do to perhaps offset some of that?
Well, I think the repercussions that at 150, as long as it doesn't stay there very long, wouldn't be too bad. It's just a matter of how long will it stay there. In our country, our company, we are increasing production. So through the end of the year, we expect to increase production by about 100,000 barrels a day. We're doing our part. But the thing about it is we had planned to do that. So that's been a part of our plan since the end of the fourth quarter. And so we planned for the supply chain challenges, and we've lined all of that up. And we have that working for us now and scheduled. But for those that haven't planned for it, supply chain for the oil and gas industry, as well as other industries in our country and around the world, is going to cause issues for anybody that thinks about trying to start ramping up now. It's just too late to do that.
Interesting. The Biden administration has been very vocal about calling on the oil and energy sector in the United States to ramp up. Have they specifically reached out to you?
I have not gotten a call from President Biden. I would love to talk to him, but I have not received that call.
What would you say if he had called you? What would you like to hear?
What I would like to tell President Biden is that we would love to do all that we can do, but we are constrained by what the pandemic caused, basically, with respect to supply chain challenges, and we need some time to prepare. We need the support of the administration also with respect to not just regulations, but with respect to helping everybody understand how supply-demand works in the oil and gas industry. We don't set our prices. Our prices are globally set by the consumers of our product. So we can't just ratchet it up or ratchet it down.
Right.
We're trying to produce what are the lowest cost barrels in all of the world, except maybe some areas in the Middle East. So we produce a lot of low cost, low emission energy, oil and gas here in the United States. And we can do that, and we can ramp it up over time. We just can't do it pretty quickly. We have to have time to prepare for it.
So what's interesting to me, I believe there was a statistic out of Bloomberg Intelligence actually that OPEC's market share when it comes to oil production 10 years ago was about 40%. Now we're looking at about 33%. This is a massive opportunity, as you point out, for the U.S. shale sector. How long will it take to capitalize on that opportunity?
Well, our shale producers have been able to ramp up pretty quickly in the past. Like over a 2-year period, a 2.5-year period here recently, we ramped up from 2 million barrels a day in the Permian Basin to 4.8 million barrels a day. The basin has the resources to do it. We have the capability and competency. We just have to work out the supply chain issues. That's going to take some period of time. And we want to do it. We want to do it as quickly as we can. We do want supply and demand to get back into balance, and so does OPEC. I will say that I recently met with Prince Abdullah Aziz, the energy minister of Saudi Arabia, and his desire has been and always is going to be to make sure that supply-demand is as close to balance as it can be, because that enables the world to have the most affordable energy is when we're balanced. And I've heard people say things like, Saudi Arabia tried to bring the shale energy to their knees back when the price war supposedly started. But that was an effort by Saudi Arabia to get the market back in balance. And that's what makes us healthy. That's what produces a healthy oil and gas industry around the world. And that's required for us to be able to provide that sustainably over time. And so I think, certainly the world needs to thank him for that. He did us all a favor, and that was an incredible thing for him to do. And now we're in a scenario where they don't have the ability to match the lack of supply that's happening today in a reasonable fashion. And so we're all working together to try to work that out over time, and we would be happy to try to get the supply back to where it needs to be.
It's interesting that you mentioned that conversation. We had OPEC Secretary General Barkindo talk about that yesterday in a presser as well. I'm curious, though, about that ramping up piece of the equation. Earlier in a panel, you talked about supply chain issues. We've heard about this in various sectors. We haven't necessarily heard about it in the energy sector. when it comes to perhaps inhibiting some of that production progress. Can you speak to us a little bit about what specifically in the supply chain your company is struggling with, and perhaps does that kind of spill over into the labor shortage as well?
It does. First, it's tubulars. The tubing that we run in and case wells and run in to produce wells. So tubulars, pipeline products, trucking is difficult right now. Sand is, in some cases, not getting to the location when it needs to get there. And all that leads to also one of the biggest problems is people. People have left the oil and gas industry to go to other industries, and I think every industry is trying to fight for people.
Interesting. Let's wrap it up with, I think, a project that's very close to your heart, and that, of course, is lowering emissions, specifically through carbon capture. We know that Occidental has been trying to build out that capacity. Can you speak to the progress of that?
Yes, I'm so excited that we are on the verge of starting the construction of our direct air capture facility. We'll begin it by the end of this year. The first train that we'll build will extract 500,000 tons of CO2 from the atmosphere, and we'll build a second train if we can take advantage of the infrastructure bill. And once we get those built, we can start to optimize and over time lower the cost. This is really important for the world because there's no facility of this size, of this scale, that can extract CO2 from the atmosphere. The current one, the largest one today, extracts 4,000 tons out of the atmosphere, and I applaud them for doing that. And Climeworks has been aggressive in building, and they're a great company. But we need to do more, and we're going to do more with the facility that we're going to build in the Permian.